Just hit a button, Morty. Give me a beat.
Oh man, okay, alright,
Grading every Premier League team's transfer window. For cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to www.jerseyfever.com, where they have the new season's jerseys available from just $25, and they have retro jerseys as well. A link will be left in the description, and if you use the coupon code ATLANTISFOOTBALL and get 5% off. So in this video I'm going to grade every Premier League team transfer window, giving them an A+, an A, a B, C, a D, E or an F. So anything below a C is going to be a failure, a C is probably like mediocre, D is going to be like disappointing, E is very disappointing, and any team that will get an F will be considered a failure in this transfer window. But before I get into the first team, if you're looking for ExpressVPN, click the link in the description. You'll get 49% off, 3 months free and a 30-day free trial, so you'll get your money back, so it's risk-free and you'll be helping support the channel. So I'm going to start with Arsenal, and they needed to strengthen in the centre-back areas and the central midfield areas most heavily. Gabriel was a very good signing at a fantastic price for his age. Signing Willian on a free will give very good squad depth for Arteta to have at his disposal, but a concern for me was in central midfield. They managed to get Ceballos on another season-long loan, which I thought was a coup in itself, but I still thought they needed another athletic player who's a good progressor of the ball in central midfield to partner Ceballos, and that's exactly what they got on deadline day with Partey. They massively overpaid on the wage side in my opinion, considering he is 27 now and reportedly on around 250k a week, which may cause problems further down the line, but I don't think you can say he isn't a great signing, which is why overall I've given Arsenal an A, because they've sufficiently strengthened in all the areas they needed to. Aston Villa are next up, and they've spent a massive amount of money, £75 million to be specific. £28 million of that was spent on Ollie Watkins, who I think is a very good player, and I think he'll do a decent job for Villa in the Premier League. He's got the ability to hold up the play and link the attack, and is a good creator of chances for himself, as we saw against Liverpool. They did overpay significantly, but I guess in the long run it's better to overpay for a striker and get the striker you want than go for a cheaper option who may not actually be as good and keep you in the Premier League. They've also got Ross Barkley on loan. Matty Cash is an excellent signing. Emi Martinez I think is a brilliant signing from Arsenal, and he'll make a massive difference in goal, as well as Bertrand Traore, who's added yet more depth to their attacking options. So I think they've made some really good signings, and I think it will be enough to keep them in the Premier League, which is why I'm going to give them an A for this. I think it would be an A star if they had maybe got these players for some better prices. They have overpaid significantly on a few of these deals, but nevertheless I'd give them an A because I think it will be enough to keep them in the Premier League, which is going to be their target. So next on the list is going to be Burnley, who have done fuck all in this transfer window. They have brought in Will Norris, a backup goalkeeper, and Dale Stephens, a backup central midfielder, on a free from Brighton, but that's it. They did lose Jeff Hendrick on a free, so if anything they're weaker in midfield than they were last season, and if you look at their lineup against Newcastle, it's not Premier League level at all. I thought they might go to the Championship to pick up some players like Ben Rama or Josh Da Silva from Brentford, but they've just sat on their hands, which is why I have to give them an F. Next up is Brighton, who similarly to Burnley were a side who I thought could take advantage of the economic positions of some Championship clubs and potentially snap up some promising young talents for reasonable prices. However, like Burnley, they didn't do this. They have brought in a central midfielder, Jacob Moda, Joe Veltman from Ajax, Adam Lallana and a left back from Poland, but I don't see these players significantly improving Brighton's starting 11, which should be the aim of every Premier League side going into a transfer window. I think their squad is much better than Burnley's, and they have brought in a few promising young players which Burnley haven't done, which is why they don't get an F and they get a D instead. So next up is Chelsea, and going into the transfer window I thought they needed a goalkeeper, a centre back, a left back, maybe a creative central midfielder and possibly a striker as well, but they've gone above and beyond that. Having Hakim Ziyech is going to be one of the best signings of the whole summer, same with Werner, and they got them for extremely good prices considering the amount that Manchester United were rumoured to be paying for Sancho and other players that were going around in the market for massive money. Werner and Ziyech were absolute steals. They also brought in Havertz, who did cost a lot of money, but he's young enough and he has the raw potential to become one of the best central attacking midfielders in the world, so I think he's going to be a development. I don't necessarily think we're going to see the best of him this season, but I do think he's a very good signing, alternating with Mount in that position or playing alongside him in some games as well. I think Thiago Silva is a very shrewd signing. There's not a lot of top centre-backs going about. Maybe Ruben Diaz or Deo Upamecano could have been options, but I think Thiago Silva is a good stopgap. He's 35, he brings that experience. And also Chilwell on the left, I do think they massively overpaid and could have got a better option, maybe someone like Sergio Reguilon or even a Estupiñán who went to Villarreal. But Chelsea have improved that left back area significantly, so that's always a good thing. So if you look at their whole signings, and they brought in Mendy as well, who doesn't really have to do much to be an improvement on Kepa. We've seen at the start of the season the problems that Chelsea have had with Kepa, and I think just replacing him in goal is going to improve their team. So overall, I'm going to give Chelsea's transfer window an A+. So now we're on to Crystal Palace, and the only real significant player that's going to be improving their starting 11 is going to be Eze, who they brought in from QPR, who I think is a good signing for them. I think he brings a lot more creativity than, say, Townsend, and I think he does suit the system very well. However, they haven't done nearly as much transfer business as they needed. I thought they definitely needed a creative central midfielder, but they didn't bring anyone in, so they're sort of stuck with that McArthur sort of structured unit, which Roy Hodgson does like, but it does limit their play a lot. I also thought maybe they could look for another centre-back, as they have got ageing options in that position. So once again, another Premier League side that I have to say is disappointing in the transfer window, which is why I'm going to give them a D. Now we move on to the surprise team so far in the Premier League, Everton. So Everton have probably done the best business they have in the last few summers. Usually they sort of spend a lot of money on aging players, which they actually have done to an extent this summer. However, they haven't spent massive amounts like they have done in previous years, like when they bought Sigurdsson or Richarlison, when they really overpaid for those players. But this year they brought in Alan and Decore into that central midfield, who I do think are some fantastic players. The only slight concern is obviously the age profile, which I think long term may give Everton some problems, but they seem to have the finances to bring in new players every summer. So I think right now those signings are very good signings for Everton. I also would say that James Rodriguez is probably the signing of the summer. They got on a free from Real Madrid. He is on massive wages, but I would definitely say that he's worth it. We've seen that Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison seem to have gone to another level this season as well. And on deadline day as well, Everton brought in Ben Godfrey, who's one of my favourite centre-backs. And I'm surprised maybe a Manchester United or a Tottenham didn't come in for him, as both of those teams needed centre-backs as well. But Godfrey's an outstanding signing for Everton. So overall, I have to give them the same sort of level as Chelsea, so I'm going to give them an A+. So next up on the list is going to be Fulham. So before deadline day, I was going to give them a D, as I felt they needed a centre-back which they hadn't brought in, and I didn't think they really had the quality in their squad to stay up. On deadline day, however, they did bring in Loftus-Cheek and Anderson on loan, so I think they're two players that really improved their starting 11. Anderson at centre-back is a good ball-playing option, which is definitely needed for Scott Parker's system, as I thought that was a major area of improvement that needed to be adjusted for when they came up to the Premier League. And we saw in their first few games they were getting caught on the ball a lot from the build-up, which is something that is always going to happen. We saw it with Norwich last season as well. They have brought in some really good players as well. Mario Lemina, Anthony Knockaert, Harrison Reed I really like as well. Anya and Tete, the two fullbacks who they've brought in, I think are really good options. I'm not certain whether it will be enough to keep them in the league, but I think if they got rid of Scott Parker and maybe got a more experienced manager who could set up a side better defensively, I think they do have a very good chance, which is why I'm going to give Fulham a B. So next up we have Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds, who have done some fantastic business considering they're a newly promoted side. The players they've brought in really fit Bielsa's system to a T. I think Koch and Llorente, the two centre-backs they've brought in, are good ball-playing options, and I think they could have even gone to some sides higher up the table, so Leeds really did well to get them. Rodrigo's a good signing from Valencia. He is 29, but I think the impact he's going to have on Leeds in the next few seasons is going to be enough to really push them up the table. Helder Costa, another good signing, who they made his move permanent from Wolves. The only one I would be concerned about is Rafinha. There was reports that he didn't want to leave Rennes, he wanted to stay and play in the Champions League, and he was so distraught he was crying about it. So it does seem a bit weird that Leeds would push through for this transfer, considering the player didn't really even want to move to the Premier League. So that's one that I would be slightly concerned about. They have got Jack Harrison again for another season. He's a very good player and he fits the system, so I think overall Leeds have done good business as well, and I'd have to give them an A+ as well, considering I've given Everton and Chelsea that as well. So that's part 1 done for this video. Part 2 should be out right now, so I'll leave that on the end screen. It'll be linked out at the top of the description as well, so go over there. I'll be talking about Manchester City, Manchester United, Liverpool and Tottenham as well in that, so make sure you go over there, subscribe to the channel as well. And for ExpressVPN and cheap football jerseys, click the link in the description. So I should see you on the part 2 of this video. Now I'm going to be putting both videos out at the same time.